And you're right. I'm wrong. I don't know about race cars.
Hey y'all, welcome to Turn 4 Talks this week. I'm Nate, this is Pops as always. Welcome to have you back, and if you're a new watcher, then we're happy to have you join us anyways. Um, there was a good weekend that we just ran through this past weekend here at Phoenix. It was a lot of fun. We'll see how it goes, and what do you want to start off with? I guess the trucks as always. I guess that's our starter, even though they're not running or didn't run. What you got? Anything even looking forward to, or just general thoughts?
Yeah, it's a lot of great news coming out of there. I mean, I know last week we talked about after St. Pete, Lane Riggs. I know he was bottom. He started climbing, and this new point system looks pretty cool. So that was one real exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I'll continue on with the point system. We'll talk about it in all three series, but it's really adding some intrigue to each of the races. This is half a preview remark, but obviously Mopar has released a couple schemes that are some decent throwbacks for a throwback weekend coming up. I think it's gonna be some fun to see them. You gotta love the Justin Haley Cummins, and then the Butterbean Queen or no, it's the other way around. The Butterbean Queen Cummins, and then the Haley scheme. But either way,
That's like
um,
some old Indy cars. I'm trying to figure that out. I saw a quick picture. I mean, I guess we got to dive into that one, but I feel like it's 1998 all over again.
hey, the one thing I've given them the most credit for all season will continue to is they sure as hell know how to market, and they are really pushing their limits in a good way of getting people to bite on and support. And Uh, all things considered, I know I've been given a hard time, but Haley's still in the points, is at the bottom there, and then Butterbean and Daniel Dye are both right behind the cutoff line. It just takes a couple good races. I guess I didn't consider that they're at least in contention. It hasn't looked like it on paper, or at least, or it hasn't looked like it to the eye test, but it's there on paper. So I guess when the point comes to prove at the end of the season, it'll be a slow burn.
Yeah, I mean, we all had high hopes for those Dodgers. I definitely want to see them rise to the top. And season, it's early. I mean, it definitely feel like they're up against the wall. Being a new manufacturer like that. But
Yeah. And then, do you have anything else for trucks? Or are we going to jump right into O'Reilly?
O'Reilly, here we go.
Alrighty. I think that was a good race overall. It was entertaining. It had a lot of good things. CW just does such good production work, and it's nice to know it's on the same channel every week, and it's just easy. They've continued with another one and change million views. I really think they're moving in the right direction, and it's been some of the best racing to watch. Not to knock the Cup Series or anything, but um, it is just pure entertainment to watch. And considering Allgaier is had a great race win. He's proven he's a veteran. He obviously doesn't have the career wins that he doesn't have too many, but he's always there when it counts, and he just knows how to finish. He's not quite Kevin Harvick closer, but he's there. Um, yeah,
Yeah, you know what? I know it was the doubleheader with the IndyCar, but it was Saturday night racing. That was to me, you gotta really love that. That looks so pretty under the lights. JRM cars were fast. I mean, I hand it to Jesse Love too. He was on a mission as well. All guy, yeah, I guess he is definitely the O'Reilly closer, huh?
yeah. I mean, he's the vet in the series, and he's the career driver, and he makes a lot of moves in a good sense. He's always there, and it's gonna be a sad day when he's gone. You brought up though Jesse Love, and he's longed for the Cup Series, and I know it's only a matter of time before he officially moves up. But at this point, he's sitting second in the points. He's had a lot of good runs. I would not be surprised to see him in a Cup car soon. But he's just, I mean, more than just a one-off ride, obviously. But he's an impressive kid. I got to give a lot of credit where credit's due.
Hey, I'm a Carson Cropple guy all day long. From the beginning of the season, hey, like, I'm so glad he's got the opportunity to go for the points this year. But it it was so weird what he set up, and I know all guy as crew chief set sail to the Cup Series, but they snagged his crew chief away and gave him to Allgaier. And I'm like, that one car last year, and they're holding their own. Don't get me wrong, but what a disadvantage, but an advantage because I know, it was a little bit of a twist, but we're pulling for you, Kvapel. We're
It's
pulling for you.
it's still the most confusing, and I completely understand why Junior's made numerous remarks on it, but the fact that you see Quapple and Raja on a different car number weekly, and then both of them are in the points hunt. I mean, it's not they're far off, and Raja made that Jordan Anderson cargo solid, and I think he's in it again this week. And then you have Quapple who's jumping around. He'll be in the nine upcoming this next week, and then he was in the one, and then he was totally in the DGM car, and they're both proven points that they should be full time for the same number. But when have you ever seen that in any racing? I mean, there's guys who jump around and you get some part time rides here and there, but I've never to my recollection have seen somebody who's chasing the points in three, five different cars. And I mean, good for them. They're both proven that they should be in their own solid number. But they were getting Kyle Larson in the 88 this weekend. I think it was originally scheduled to be a Bowman race, and again, poor Bowman with the vertigo. But it's frustrating to see that Raja has to run another race for Jordan Anderson and obviously they're probably getting some help. And Jordan Anderson has totally brought his equipment to a new level once he got to the Xfinity Series, and has been really good at marketing. He's honestly a better owner than a driver, and that's not a knock on him. But it's frustrating to just see.
Yeah, but they had that on the schedule, so even though Bowman's out, they can't switch him back into the 88 because he made that commitment. Obviously, Anderson made that commitment. And just saying about guys switching two drivers that are actually in contention and probably have good equipment. As Darrell Waltrip said, "Have you ever?" And I gotta say, I've never. I mean, I really haven't. So, but good points.
No, it's definitely been tough. I'm curious to see how that all plays out once we get near the playoffs itself, or the chase, or I guess it is the chase. Let's go. But I mean, with the season-long points format, I know that it sounds like Quapple and Raja will both be in those cars uh, towards the end of the season for the rest of that little stint. But it's definitely an odd change of pace.
Hey, at least Corey didn't go around crashing people this weekend, so you gotta give him some credit.
I mean, it looked like he still got into some people, but he definitely was a little cleaner. I mean, his pre-race interview, he seemed like he was humbled very quickly. As they were taking the trucks around the track, he was sitting in the back getting interviewed on TV, saying, "Yeah, I got to talk, and I had to learn a little better about it." So, you know, I, I give him credit. He definitely didn't go out and just wreck all four of the junior motorsports cars again, but or too many people at least blatantly, but you worry that he's going to be a little too cautious now. I'd like to wonder how Corey Day's season pans out. Again, though, he's in the points, sitting in the top five. He's pulled out some good finishes, so I might have to roll it back a little. I don't think he's a great finisher, but I think he still is right where he needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, I mentioned it, but yeah, his day's gonna come, like we said before. You know, they're developing him for a reason. There's no doubt about it. But not every dirt race is a Kyle Lawson. So
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there's not too much more to go on that. I feel like, but
yeah.
so
Well, I
maybe
got a question.
all right.
Because, yeah, yeah, I'm not a big Cletus fan, but the hatred that's been brewing about him, RCR did the deal and signed him to run, and, people are like, who, where, all right, I get it. He didn't have the best showing at um, Daytona. Shit happens. Excuse the French. But how do you feel about that? Like, just because he's an internet sensation and people are feeling like he's on the ride.
So I will give my 2 cents here is that I'm definitely a Cletus fan. As a YouTube comment or content creator, But on top of that, I think he's really made the most for what he did. He obviously has had a few ARCA starts now, and I will go on the side. He does race. He does not like he's never been in a car before, and he's just some random YouTubers just getting a start. I mean, obviously it doesn't compare 1 to 1, but he runs weekend races at his oval track that he owns. He's talked about buying a late model now with Junior. And then the biggest thing is, I think the RCR deal is counter to what everyone wants to say. Everyone's giving him a hard time because he's got to learn. But being in an RCR car, he's going to have sim time. He's going to have multiple drivers, whether you like him or not. Love and Hill are both going to be there to mentor him in a sense. He might get to talk to Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, and again, love or hate him. At the end of the day, he's going to have more resources. In ARCA, you can get a ride and you get the Daytona tests, and the guys are definitely nice and helpful, but they're not giving the kind of resources that a full RCR shop will be able to give him. And then that's kind of why they pushed him into run Rockingham, and obviously he's going to keep running the super speedways. I think there's a lot to learn, and I think he's not going to just set the world on fire overnight. But I think the hatred is unbiased or too biased. I
I'm
guess.
not a fan. I'm not a hater. You know what? There's a reason for it. People are behind it. NASCAR approved it. I mean, he's going to add to the show. Saw the hype in Daytona with him and Pastrana. It was kind of fun. I mean, watching the content, you definitely kind of appreciate it. You see the people coming out of the woodworks. You wish the guy the best, man. That's all you can say.
Yeah.
But you know, it just blows me to see people like Kyle Petty and even Kyle Busch made a comment. And he's supposed to be helping him. So we'll see how it rolls.
I think we'll definitely see where things fall, but it's one of those things that time will tell, and we can't sit here and babble and say this guy's going to do this or that because it's a no point. I
Do it
think
for the Biff.
and honestly, the last point I have with the Cletus thing before we jump over is I think that it's good for the sport. He's got multiple millions followers on YouTube, and not all of those guys are stock car fans or circle track fans, and I think that brings a lot of sponsorship and a lot of views. I mean, the amount of people who watch Daytona just to get a shot of him, or as you mentioned, Pastrana, I think having those guys in the series is good. And we want to get back to a point where there's high profile with these sponsors. We want to have full season sponsors and get back to a certain world we used to live in, which it won't fully ever be. But at the same time, you really want to see people who's going to make the sport more entertaining, even if it's not necessarily on the track. And
It's our sport. We love it. You know, definitely, you definitely want the attention, and that you got a good point there. There's no doubt about it. That's brings good stuff to it, and even if he's bringing along Squirrel McNutt, whoever this guy is, I gotta do some research on that one.
yeah, Squirrel seems a little goofy, and we'll have to definitely do some research. I know I've just seen him in a few videos, but hey, if he rips the sleeve off like Biff, I guess that's where we're good to go. Um, don't do it on that nice shirt. But yeah, and then considering somebody who brings eyes and is worthwhile, like a good point. Well, we'll jump to the Cup Series here, but I mean that's why Trackhouse brought in SVG with the playoffs and knowing that you could win a road course and the fact that he won his one off at Chicago the first time. One of the biggest reasons SVG is now sitting and fighting fifth in points is because the branding and the viewership. People want to have a name of something exciting, and it might take a little time, just like SVG with the ovals, but point is going to come to pass if you have the right resources and the right time. Then you might see somebody. I'm not saying he's going to be a cup driver or that Cletus will be a cup driver or anything, but again, in the Cup Series, I think SVG is a great example. And yeah, he has years of experience, but I digress.
He went straight to the Burgermeister, right into the Pheonix promo. So there you go. Let's talk about the Cup race now. You bring up the Burgermeister because you know, it just seemed like a couple of months ago as the season was winding down. We're all like, yeah, I guess Burgermeister, he's out now. He can't do no road course wins. He's gonna be, that 16th place line there, and the man's running fifth in points. Like, respect.
Yeah, I think the point system has changed the racing more than people realized it was going to. And I think as race fans, we all knew it was going to change a little bit and having a full season, no win, and you're in. But you get guys like McDowell who, with another crazy weekend and another bold strategy of just running as he could, still ends up seventh in points. I mean, I would not be surprised to see him make that final 16, especially at the pace they're at and just making the moves they're making. It's not always going to pay off, and he might not be a race winner every time, but I think that somebody like McDowell can really prove a point and show that longevity and consistency is the key here.
Do you feel like Spire's on the cusp of exploding? Because you kept, I mean, last year McDowell was kind of on the quiet side, but this year you hear his name and you keep seeing him and they keep pushing. And I know Hocevar spent a splash in the pan, but you see him starting to come together. And Suarez, man, jumping in that seven car, he's been, another piece of the puzzle. I think that is pretty cool to say.
Yeah, I think Danny Bro over here qualified fourth, and it's a really good track for Spire. And yeah, the results didn't show because he got caught in some of those little messy wrecks out there. But at the end of the day, he's come out with full bang and bloom, and I'm certain we'll see a little bit more from him this year. He's definitely gonna be fighting for one of those last spots in the playoffs at minimum. But yeah, Spire is honestly become no joke. I mean, the Gabe Hart allegations aside, I think having somebody like Chris Gabe Hart, and even I don't know if Steve Hart's still giving them some advice as well, but having guys like that in the building is the kind of thing that really builds a program. I mean, it's the old motto of doing it the Patriots way in football, but you get this with racing, and you can do it the Gibbs way, where they've won so many championships in races. And you have somebody come over and bring that knowledge and experience and say, "Hey, this is where you guys are missing out." I really think that's the difference maker, and they're really going off. And I gotta say,
They got the Hendrick affiliation. I mean, it's been going on for a while, so you gotta, they're getting some good feedback there. There's no doubt about it. But I think that team is gelling. Kind of excited to see what happens to them this year for sure.
yeah. I brought up Gibbs a few times as a organization. How about Gibbs the driver? You know, he made some comments, which is kind of funny because after all the gay part things, which pretty much said that he was running an independent team and that Joe and Heather were driving that team specifically and giving part of the whole lawsuit where the Gabehart didn't have any power or control really. It was interesting to see him up front because the comment he made was, "Well, you guys just my performance on the track will speak for itself," and I think a lot of people laughed at first, but he was there at that final restart. Obviously, he had nothing to give to Hot Blaney, but you know, you give him credit. And then, like, speaking also of Gibbs, is Bell was there. I think if the four tires, a lot of people might give a hard time on because it probably cost him in some sense. But I think if that race was a little bit longer and it's coulda, shoulda, woulda, uh, Bell had probably one of the few cars that looked like it could catch Blaney and or pass him.
They were running up there together, and even the 11 had a good showing. He was racing. So, and the 19 was fast too. It just another, looking for the DVP spot again, I guess.
Oh, yeah, the 19 of Briscoe was fast to hit the wall. Um, but as he mentioned in his radio, at least he knew where the vehicle policy parking was this time. But, which I love the sense of humor after he wrecked of saying, "Hey, I knew this," because, you know, he's a good hearted dude. And as much as I'm not a big fan of him because he's a Gibbs driver, all bias aside, he's definitely a cool driver and a good person in most senses. So
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I know you've had a run-in with him too, and you got a little personal experience, which we all love hearing stories about that with race car drivers. There's no doubt about it. But what about Bowman, man? I mean, I know we got to touch base on that one because, like, that. I mean, Alfredo was running up there, and what do you finish seventh place? Who knows? But kudos to him. It just hate to see guys get caught up in a wreck like that.
Yeah, it was definitely not the best showing for Alfredo, but I don't think he embarrassed himself or did anything foolish. Drove the car mostly clean all day. Everything he was caught up in was nothing of his own fault, and he still got the car moving along. Obviously we'll see Allgaier in this next upcoming week, so it's a little change of pace and somebody who just proved that they can win. And I'm curious how that pans out. And it's not Allgaier's first run in the Cup Series, let alone in the last few years or this year. But yeah, I think Alfredo's going to get a hard rap. I mean, it's not so easy to just jump into a good car and all of a sudden win. And I would defend him there. Is yeah, he might be the sim driver and he might be have some experience in the Cup Series behind him, but it's not like you just jump in and roll with it. There's a lot of things you got to learn.
All guys got a history with Vegas, so that might be a decision because he's got some wins there and he's a performer there. So I think that's one of his good tracks. They might have based it on that. Like let's get him in there, but we don't know the behind the scenes how Hendrick and they figured that all out.
Speaking of wins, I think it's hard to ignore Blaney. I mean, what a race! You know, I almost thought that the Penske crew was gonna have cost him because he had that horrible first spot or pit stop, and the tire came loose, and he had to come back down, and you're like, oh, there goes the Blaney day, and then it happens again, and you want to beat your head against the wall and go, why do you have another loose wheel? This team is costing him races. But I think at some point during the final part of that third stage, he said, nothing's gonna stop me. I mean, he's the only thing he did wrong all day. I think personally was leave the car in neutral as it started to roll away at the start finish
Great
line.
victory celebration there. There you go. At least
Oh,
he caught it.
yeah, that was the funniest thing is watching him go, wait a second. I gotta go run and grab my car as it is literally rolling down the hill. But, very well deserved. It was really interesting with the IndyCar crossovers on the broadcast because you had a lot of, like, Josie Newgarden in the 12 shirt saying, like, that's who I'm cheering for. So it was really cool to see all weekend.
Yeah, Penske had good cars there. They always do at Phoenix. I mean, Joey, qualifying on the pole, he diamond those corners really well, and he shot to the top. I mean, Blaney, the two, Cindric, he just got caught up in a wreck. The same, the 21 was fast there too. And it just bad luck on their part. I mean, we've seen it with a lot of guys, but definitely Penske power at Phoenix. You got to watch out for him.
Yeah, I think if that wreck with Joey getting back and forth and coming across and taking out the other two Penske cars being the 21 and the 2. I think that it doesn't change the race results too hardcore, but I think there's definitely a level of seeing some fluctuation. I mean, Joey did have a fast car all day, just some bad breaks, and I think you could at least see the top five, top 10 from him. But I guess that's how the new point system for the season is going to play out. Is these finishes make a big difference.
They made me eat my words, man. Last week I was saying, "Where's the Fords at?" And they showed up.
Yeah. Speaking of somebody who showed up, I have to say Kyle Busch. You know, he finished 17th, I believe, but there's no way you would have thought that after he barreled through the wall once, and then just had so many other problems through the day, like a tire problem and everything, that he would have recovered and finished top 20. And it's shown some perseverance. I don't know if y'all heard, but man made a foolish mistake and stood on a porcelain stool while he was changing the fire alarm. And we all know, don't stand on a stool if you're changing it. It's not safe. Let alone a glass one that's gonna break and then cut your leg and need to make 24 stitches. But I take it back. I guess he has more money than I do, so I guess.
Aren't you supposed to wait till you turn the clocks forward to change the batteries in your smoke detectors anyway? It's a little too early for that, I think.
Oh, and then yeah, and as I was just mentioning, I think it was really neat that, especially I guess one of the first times in a little while that with this new Gen 7 car, it's not so new anymore. It's a few years in, but we saw a lot of wrecks and a lot of drivers who had been wrecked who are still running up front. I mean, like William Byron's a good example. Definitely beat up some things, and you still see him running towards the front at the end of the race. And I gotta say, I'm impressed. This car's holding together pretty well.
Well, that whole out of bounds thing there is, you go to all these tracks, no out of bounds, no out of bounds. They got that dog leg, man. Those guys are 6 wide. That's like, sticking 6 cup cars into a funnel. Something's gonna give. I mean, um, the fans love it. I love it. I don't know how the drivers feel.
Yeah, the drive.
we,
Oh, sorry to cut you.
no worries.
Yeah,
Who's gonna lift,
the
right?
drivers definitely have to have some sort of some move on it. It was interesting hearing the IndyCar guys say that, there's the race directors told him don't even try it, and there's some level of they all felt like the cars when they did it in practice were so unbalanced immediately afterwards. So it's definitely something to think about. But there's a level of I guess that's what makes it fun. That's what makes Phoenix is a better track than I feel like it got credit for. I think it got a lot of hard time for being the finale because it just wasn't the best finale race. But at the same time, I think as a mid-season race, it's grown on me.
I hear that, man. There's no doubt about it. And one little topic is with TV coverage. Why they beating up, they're beating up on Fox. They're beating up on Jamie. They're beating up on Clint. Larry, I hope you're well. You listen to him on there. I thought he went to the dentist. Now they're all like, he had a stroke. Hey, you know what? The guy's there. He's legendary, but man, it's crazy.
I think the Fox broadcast leaves something to be desired, especially considering how you watch like the CW broadcast for the O'Reilly series. But I think, as I always say, even bad day of racing is still one of the best things you could do. And hey, racing's racing, and could they improve? And could Clint Boyer stop saying some goofy shit? Maybe, but we'll leave it at that.
Well, Mike's the call by call, and him and Harvick are just supposed to be, the banter. But yeah, we've seen it go good, we've seen it go bad. But I guess leave it to Mike Joy at the end to make the calls.
Yeah. I guess with that said, at least for me, do you have any closing points for the this past weekend or the next upcoming weekend?
Man, love your Cup Series. Here we come, Vegas. Looks like it's going to be exciting. It's always a new bag of chips, as I like to say.
Yeah, we're gonna get to see a full mile and a half and see how that plays out. See who stays hot, who gets cold, how the things pivot. Obviously, things like Reddick sticking up front. Still, he didn't go for four in a row, but he was still there. So we'll see how the season plays out, and I'm certain that this will be a good one.
Man, we appreciate all our fans, man. Thanks for checking us out. Smash like, smash subscribe. Check us out on our social media, Facebook, Twitter. We'll get rolling in the posts, and thank you all. Send us questions. Nothing too crazy, but peace out till next time, man. We'll catch you.
Thank y'all.